Hi everyone, April Gray here with Oliver and Associates Real Estate Brokerage. Thank you so much for watching. Today we're going to be discussing my seller's guide, which is a breakdown of the 10 steps that you should be aware of prior to listing your house for sale. So this is really great for first timers, or maybe you've been out of the market for a really long time and you just need a bit of a refresher on what this process looks like. This is a very simplified explanation, so please note that sometimes there will be unique things that do come up in particular situations, but these are the basic outlined steps of what you can expect to come. So first and foremost are your finances. Now this is often associated as the first step in buying a home, first step in selling a home too. So first and foremost, you want to make sure that you pick the right mortgage agent and specialist that's going to work for you, that provides you a quote that you are happy with if, let's say, you have to buy another home. And you also want to make sure that your pre-approvals are in order prior to listing your house for sale so that you're not running into any unexpected bad news later down the line when it might even be too late. So you also want to make sure that your mortgage agent or specialist lets you know whether or not your next purchase is going to be dependent on the sale of your current house, as that's going to drastically affect what type of conditions we do put in on your next offer. So again, you just want to make sure that you have all of this information prior to listing your house so that everything flows smoothly through this entire process. Step number 2 is mortgage payoff. So you want to find out how much principal is left on your mortgage, and then you want to find out what, if any, the penalties and the administration fees are when you sell your house. So if you are getting out of your mortgage, 20 years earlier or 15 years earlier than the bank expected you to, typically you will have to pay a fee to that financial institution, and those vary greatly based on how much you've paid off from your mortgage, from your interest, and how long you've actually had your loan out. The other things is you want to be aware of is capital gains tax. You want to make sure that you know if you are going to have to pay capital gains tax. This varies depending on situations, and there are a lot of variables about it, so I'm not going to talk too much about this particular point. But it does matter if you have been living in that house for the entire duration that you've been on title as an owner, whether or not you've sold properties in the past, and how frequently you do sell those properties. If you are going to have to pay capital gains tax, what that means is that 50% of what you make on the sale of that asset actually needs to be added to your income for that year, and you will have to pay tax on it. So again, this can drastically affect what you think you're going to make from a profit perspective when you do sell your house. So you just want to make sure you have all of your financial information readily available and that you fully understand it before you jump into the next step. Assuming everything goes well, you want to talk to a realtor, me. So find out how much your home is worth. Please, please, please use a professional for this. I can't tell you how many times I've heard all these stories about people saying their house is worth this much because Jimmy down the street sold it for this much, and that's just simply not what it's all about. There are a lot of factors involved with coming up with a home value. And realtors and professionals have access to some information about certain properties that might not be readily available to the public that can really make a difference in what your home is worth. The other thing you want to do is estimate any additional costs. So in Ontario, you do have to have a lawyer to transfer the title of a property. So you are going to have to pay lawyer fees, and these vary drastically depending on the lawyer that you do choose. You are going to have to pay land transfer tax, assuming you're not purchasing your very first home. You will have to, of course, calculate moving costs, realtor commission, and then renovating or staging your property to ensure that it does appeal to the masses when it is time to show your house. Once you've agreed with your realtor that this is the way to go, you have all of your finances in order, it's time to sign that listing agreement, which kickstarts me into action and getting your house ready to list. Step 4 is that exactly, getting your home ready. So those minor repairs or chips in the paint that you walk by every single day and just disregard, please fix them. You'd be amazed with how much that stuff does impact buying decisions. If buyers are walking through multiple homes and they see paint chips and squeaky doors and squeaky hinges throughout one house and a very similar house, maybe priced the same because it looks essentially the same, but doesn't have any of those repairs or things that they're going to need to do right away. It's a pretty easy decision for them, and things that you overlook or just have gotten used to might not be the same for the buyers that are walking through your house. The other thing is take care of your landscaping. So get out there, start picking those weeds, make sure that you do trim those bushes, cut those trees if they're hanging over and they're dead or they're ugly. You wanna make sure that your curb appeal is top notch, as this again is gonna generate a lot more interest in your property. In some situations, you are gonna wanna stage that property. And a lot of people think it's going to be a lot of money, but I can tell you right now, like, it is worth it. If you do partner with me, I will pay for your consultation. So there's no money upfront to you. If you don't decide to use them, that's perfectly fine. But what these companies do is they will come in and go room by room and explain what they're going to do from a staging perspective. And I've been aware of a few properties that actually have increased the value of those offers by upwards of $10,000 or $15,000 just because their home looks like a model home when you walk in it, thanks to the repainting and the refinishing and the staging of that property. The last thing on here is start to pack. Make sure that you get rid of all the personal items within your home. You are moving. You listed your house for sale. You're going to be moving. There's no reason not to start packing right away. Make sure that you get rid of all of the clutter within the house, loose papers, random little trinkets, or personal pictures of you, your family, your kids. When people see personal items in a house, they feel as though they're invading someone else's personal space, and they immediately can become uncomfortable. So it's really important that you mitigate those things as best as you can and just put them in boxes and get them out of the way so that buyers, when they walk in, they can really picture themselves in this house, and they can actually start picturing their own furniture in this house, and they're not distracted by the lifestyle that you've left behind, and makes them, again, feel uncomfortable that they're in your space and not their own space. Step number 5 is marketing. So this is something that's often overlooked, and I'm not really sure why, because there's a lot more to marketing than just putting it on MLS and realtor.ca. Make sure that you talk to me and understand the marketing plan. So for me personally, I will always pay for additional Instagram ads, Facebook ads. In some particular cases, we can create an external website. And then we want to make sure we get professional photographers and videographers out there. In some cases, for higher end homes, you're going to want to get those drones out and make that property look extremely appealing. This is a numbers game. So the more people that can see your property and are excited about it, the more offers you're going to get, because the more interest it's going to generate. So again, make sure you do understand the marketing plan here and what you need to do in order to work with your realtor so that this works. Once we are official on our marketing plan, we are going to list your property. Right before we list, you and I are going to decide when you want to review offers. So there's a couple of different options here. You can review offers as they do come in. However, in this market, because it is a seller's market, more often than not, offers are being reviewed on a specific date and time. In this case, if this is the route that you want to go, you're going to sign what's called a Form 244. And it's basically going to say that we are holding all offers and we will discuss them on, let's say, Monday at 6 p.m. Now, this is ideal because you're able to look at all of the offers and make an informed decision. If you choose to review offers as they come in, typically buyers are going to put an irrevocability date of 24 or 48 hours if they're generous, and you only have within that time frame to either accept that offer, decline it, or counter it, or else it becomes null and void. So if you don't get another more attractive offer within that time frame, you might be losing out on that best offer, and you would never know. Once we agree on how you would like to review your offers, it is time to officially list. So we're going to use all of that marketing material, get it on the internet, make sure that we're generating as much interest as possible, and start scheduling those showings. Step 7, showings. So a few key points here, and I know they might seem a little bit silly, but it is important to mention. First and foremost, don't be home. I'm a realtor. I've done plenty of showings where the sellers decide that they want to stay home, and I'll be blunt, it is awkward. You are walking into this person's home, you're very aware that they're staring at you, they're analyzing you, they're trying to see whether or not you like their home, if you're going to put in an offer. It's just kind of weird. So do your best to not be home. And on that note, if you can take your pets, take them with you. Worst case scenario, you can't take your pets with you. Please make sure that you do lock them up so that we're not worried about dogs or cats escaping as we're entering the house. On top of that, get rid of those dog dishes, put away that kitty litter just for your showings. You might love your fur babies, but not every single buyer is going to be a dog person or a cat person. And as soon as they see animals within the house, sometimes people associate that with negative feelings, and they might not be interested in that house if they do see them there. The next thing on this list is leave the lights on. So if you have the opportunity to leave curtains open, open them up, get as much natural light in as you can, assuming your view isn't terrible. And then on top of that, go into each room and turn on all the lights. It really makes the house seem brighter and more open and welcoming. And this is a psychological thing. It's a lot easier for buyers to fall in love with a really nicely lit house, as opposed to trying to creep around the dark corners and navigate through the hallways. Please don't use overwhelming fragrances. So again, some people are allergic and some people just plain don't like them. So even though you might fall in love with that Coconut Breeze air freshener, don't go around and spray it on every piece of furniture, as some people might be extremely turned off by that and not consider offering on your house because they didn't like the smell. Last but not least, please clean up, take out the trash bags, make sure you don't have clutter around. Again, make sure your personal items are put away. It sounds funny, but you want your house to look as though no one actually lives there, because it allows buyers to picture themselves there as opposed to picturing you there. This is very important in the psychology behind actually making sure your house is attractive. Number 8 is review offers. So by law, realtors are required to show you every single offer that comes in. Please don't be offended if someone shoots you a low ball. This is a sales tactic and it does work. So you can't be offended if someone does offer you, let's say 40 or 50K less than the asking price that we agreed upon. Sometimes they're just trying to get a deal. They're not saying that your house isn't lovely or it's not worth a lot. So you really need to focus on taking the emotion out of this part of the process and focus on it as if it's like a business transaction. And you're going to be a lot more level-headed when you're going through this part of the process, because you're going to look at it logically and what's going to make the most sense for you and your family. So as I mentioned earlier, you have 3 options every time an offer comes in. You can accept it, you can decline it, or you can counter it. Please note that if you decide to counter an offer, you are then saying that first offer is not good enough and you can no longer go back to it. So if that buyer is offended or they think that your counter is ridiculous or over the top or worse, greedy, you don't have the option of going back to that first offer. So these situations are case by case and they can be extremely unique. And at that time, you and I would sit down and go through what's going to make the most sense. What are the risks involved, and how are we going to make sure that the terms of the agreement are something that both parties are happy with? Within each offer, we're going to, of course, discuss the purchase price, the deposit amount, the closing date, and the specific conditions within that offer. So not all of the time does the highest offer mean the best offer. If someone has an offer for $15,000 more than the second best offer, but they have inspection, they have financing clauses, they have a condition in there that says they need to sell their current house, that might fall through. It might be a lot safer to take the offer that was, 10 or 15K less, because that deal is a firm deal. You're not worried about someone else's problems or them not being able to sell their house or them not getting approved for financing. And then we got to start this whole thing all over again. So again, we're going to look at the breakdown of what the difference in dollar amount is going to be and the risks associated with conditions that buyers are offering. Number 9, so you're going to finally accept an offer, and this is when you're going to involve a lawyer. So you do get the buyers have 24 hours to deposit their check to the listing brokerage, which is me. I will always do my best to either collect it from them personally or work with the other realtor to ensure that that is done within a timely manner and we are not just worried about the logistics of a check. At that time, the sale becomes final. I will review all of your contracts and send them over to a lawyer who will then review them again. And as I mentioned earlier, in Ontario, lawyers are the only ones that can transfer the title of a property. So this is where your seller is going to be involved and work with the buying lawyer to make sure everything is done on the closing date that is written within your agreement. Step number 10 is to move. So of course you're gonna wanna let your hydro, your gas, your internet, your cable companies, every monthly bill that you do have, you're gonna wanna make sure that you either pause them or change your services. Forward your mail is a big one, just so that you're not gonna have things have a gap or have mail still come to your old property, and then you're gonna move. So of course we try and do the very best we can to line up closing dates so that you're not in limbo for a few weeks. Sometimes it's inevitable. If you get a really good offer on your house and the house that you're purchasing has a 2-week waiting period before you can move in, sometimes it's best just to stay with a family member or friend, store your stuff for a couple of weeks and get a hotel if you need to. Sometimes, again, it's just the way the way that the cookie crumbles, and this is what we got to do. But we do try and avoid that as best we can. So thank you very much, everyone. This was, again, just a very basic breakdown of the 10 steps involved into selling your house. If you do have additional questions, or if you are curious about how much your home is worth, please do not hesitate to give me a call, text, or email on the contact information that you do see there. I do provide free home evaluations, so you don't need to sign anything in order just to get an idea of what you're going to be looking at here. I will come prepared with comparables within the area and talk to you about why your home may be worth a certain amount. Thanks so much, guys, and I hope to hear from all of you soon.